This episode is brought to you by Elevate OS, the only all-in-one community operating system. Elevate OS transforms property management, combining resident engagement, reservations, rent payments, maintenance, and concierge services into a single super app. It also uniquely integrates access control, intercoms, package lockers, and thermostats, eliminating app fatigue and redefining modern apartment living. Visit elevateos.com/MMN for a free demo and see how they can help you level up your operations. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Mike, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I think you're working on something that is germane to the industry, germane more broadly speaking, and I think probably the acronym of the at least the decade, potentially longer than that. But AI. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. What do you think?
I'm excited to talk about it, as I always have been. I hope I do it justice as to what I'm trying to build myself, this industry, et cetera. But it's such an exciting time to be in this industry, to try to help take it from a tech backwards one to, let's call it a tech neutral one, where we actually know how to use these things. We don't lead the world in tech advancements and tech skills, but really just stop wasting time on manual tests, use this technology to focus on the bigger things. That's what I'm most excited about. So thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I can't wait to unpack it. Before we do, I want to back up and maybe give us just a brief introduction to like who you are as a person, as a human, before you get into the business side of things. Just like to know a little bit about you as a human, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So I have been in the real estate private equity space for 12 years now. And really early on, and this is a precursor to what I'm doing now, I just always noticed, so primarily in multifamily, worked at pretty big private equity shops. You would think at a bigger private equity shop that these firms would have the resources to, I don't know, not spend 2 weeks on a single report. But I kept watching these, what I deemed and still do, very intelligent people spending a lot of time in Excel just building reports. So I learned so much about just the fundamentals of multifamily asset management. I learned eventually how to become an operator, and really, especially over the past couple of years, given it's been a necessity, really become like a property manager. I've gained so much respect for property management along with it because I know how hard it is. So I owe a lot of my old property managers an apology, because it is not an easy job. But really, I call myself this because I live it and I still do today. I'm really in the weeds. I'm trying to understand tenants and vendors and construction professionals, just really every facet of the multifamily ecosystem. And I've noticed so much just inefficiencies, whether it was beginning, early on, even today, I just noticed so much inefficiencies. But I didn't know how to solve those inefficiencies myself. Fast forward to 2022 when technology is really starting to come into our industry. It wasn't really even just AI, me playing around with it. It was the Elise AIs. It was the property melds. It's all these different services that we could bring in. I got obsessed with testing out new technology for myself, for my site teams. And I made a lot of mistakes, as I think a lot of this industry did. We all chased the flashy lights of these services. Some worked well, some didn't. And there were so many different dashboards and new trainings. And ultimately, my site teams were so mad at me because I wanted to make their lives easier. But guess what? I made it harder. So really, when AI came around 3 years ago, but for me, really just a year ago, I started becoming obsessed with it. So melding this or molding this asset management operator background with now, and I'm not a tech person, but I'm trying to become one, all of these tools that are available to us via AI, just even basic project management tools like an Asana or a Monday, just trying to leverage everything that's out there to make my life easier, my analysts' lives easier, my site teams' lives easier. That's been my obsession. And then if we go back a year ago, and I'll end here, I left my job and I just decided to start posting on LinkedIn, not just to network, just to start meeting people. And it morphed into this I'm talking about my operations background. I'm talking about property tech. I went on probably 200 different phone calls with different prop tech vendors and investors and asset managers and marketers, and I learned so much. And I started sharing that online. And now I can't stop doing that because I love doing it. And I built what I think is a great community on LinkedIn. And ultimately, and I'll end here, me and two other people started the CRE AI Studio, which is a AI educational platform for commercial real estate professionals. So if you told me a year ago I'd be doing all this and sitting on this podcast with you here today, I wouldn't believe you. But just by the power of LinkedIn, the power of imagination, and trying to learn and becoming obsessed with AI technology, multifamily asset management, I think I built a pretty strong playbook to operate deals. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Excellent. I want to key off of you talked to 200 different say
Yeah.
supplier partners, operators, etc. on LinkedIn. LinkedIn being the catalyst for those conversations. I have to imagine there were some through lines, some highlights, some thematics that presented out of those 200 that sort of led to this moment where you started this business, which I want to unpack in just a second. But I'd like to know the predicate for that. And my imagination tells me it was something born out of those 200 conversations plus some other stuff.
Yeah. Some takeaways from the 200 plus calls that I went on. Well, 9 times out of 10, a founder is a terrible salesperson. That always sticks with me. And sales, pitching your product, you could have the best product in the world, but if I don't understand it in the first 20, 30 seconds, which is so cliche, but it's so true, you've kind of lost me. So that was a big theme for me. But the second theme is there is so much technology being thrown real estate, specifically multifamily. I am so excited by that. I can't tell you how many non-real estate people, which is a good and a bad thing, have started companies to attack the multifamily and real estate space as a whole. So there's a lot of attention, there's a lot of investment in PropTech and others coming to our industry. So I'm excited by that. But the third takeaway, which is a result of that, there's a lot of pretenders out there. There's a lot of fluff products. It is very easy. Maybe people say this about a lot of LinkedIn posts out there, but it's so easy to deem yourself as this expert or deem yourself as this product being the solution for all solutions, only to then unpack it and think, well, they haven't thought about this use case. They're actually not real estate people, so they didn't think about it this way. So it actually doesn't address my problem. I went on so many demos, and I was lucky enough to get a lot of sandbox environments where I could actually play around with it, only to be confused, not understand what it does, and ultimately not be a fan. Whereas maybe before I got the keys, I was a fan. So that's the biggest risk, and we saw this over the past 5, 6 years, is signing up for a service because it seems like it will address some problem or provide a big solution or open up an opportunity, only for it to be a waste of time, money, resources, and now you have disgruntled staff. So I'm very hopeful, but I'm also, and this is just who I am, there's always a grain of salt, there's always a skepticism that I kind of go into with everything, which has helped me, I believe. Probably hurt me in some situations, but it's definitely helped me. It's like, okay, you're saying X, prove it to me, as opposed to just believing them blindly. So those have been my takeaways with all that data that I collected over those 6 months of phone calls.
Yeah, it's interesting. I having been in the industry a long time and certainly visited with a lot of supplier partner founders, co-founders, run the whole gamut. I've interviewed like I don't know 250 people on this podcast, right? And so I at least have a working understanding of things. But it was interesting. Let's say 4 or 5 years ago. This is right around the time COVID happened. A lot of PropTech supplier partners started. It was almost like they were creating problems that multifamily didn't have, or they discovered problems that we didn't even know we had, and then tried to put technology against that. And in a lot of cases, I don't know that it was all that necessary, but there was a lot of money in the market at that time, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
today, what's exciting is we're going to start to see some, I think, consolidation or picking up the best pieces of some of that stuff and incorporating it into other technologies. Do you see it that way, or do you see it differently?
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to get into this. And I think I told you offline, I started a different company 5 years ago, tipping company. But everybody was raising money then. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
oh, we're going to raise a couple $1 million. This is going to be easy. And this, this is COVID times. Rates go up, the floor falls out.
yeah.
Nobody's raising money. So I definitely saw a lot of what's called the fluff pretenders go away.
Mhm.
But now my fear, and it's like what I said before, it's either new entrants who just add their company name .ai to
Mhm.
it because AI is raising a ton of money right now. Maybe not a lot of other verticals. Um, and then there's old players who, to your point, have probably come back or have remained, and now they're trying to go the AI route because that's the way to look sexy, to raise money, etc. So just be weary out there to everyone who's listening. I'm sure everyone knows this, but it is, again, so easy to just make a great looking website and say you do X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of people who can't deliver. So, yeah, but to your point, I'm sure there are companies out there who have iterated. That's the sign of a good company. Iterated from 2020 to now with AI, with whatever learnings they have over the past 5 years. And I'm sure there'll be better products because of it.
So let's use that as a jumping off point. So, and maybe you can create the framework for the balance of this conversation, and really under the sort of the premise of education. Because let's say AI is new to the scene, even though it's not new to the scene. I think the application of AI is new to the scene, changing rapidly, almost daily, sometimes by the minute, it seems like.
Yeah.
So set the context for us, the company that you've created in that context, and what you hope to achieve, and we'll just kind of riff on it.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. I kind of alluded to this before. I'm a year into using AI. I'm not one of these early adopters in 2022 when ChatGPT first came out. I was, like I said before, I was skeptical. How is this going to help me? I was just used to these annoying chatbots on my property websites that got the answer wrong 5 times out of 10. That was a lot of people's opinions of what AI was. Hopefully not as much so now. But again, when I left my job a little over a year ago, I had the time to think and to play around with these things and to understand what ChatGPT can actually do, which a year ago is a fraction of what it could do now. But I just started to do basic things. All right, I'm a real estate asset manager. Let's start. I was in the Birmingham market before I left my job. Give me some information on the Birmingham market. I would test it. I had this one property that I was in love with that I did all this work for. I would test ChatGPT on it, and it would start giving me some answers back. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh, that's cool. I don't have to go to Google for that. I could actually get all the answers right here and then develop a 20-page research report on that. How good would that have been when I was going through DD when I had never been to Alabama before? This is giving me everything I need to know about the schools and the crime and the median incomes and all that. How great would that have been? So that was, and I think everybody should do this. You dip your toes in. You start to understand. Okay, I could get a little bit of basic output from this, and then you grow from it. And that was really the genesis of my learning. And 8 months ago, I said, you know what? Why don't I just host an AI webinar on LinkedIn? I don't know much about AI as some of these people that I'm having on here. Let me get some what I deem to be experts. And we got a couple hundred people to join the first one. I was like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
And I kept developing my skills. I kept posting about it on LinkedIn. And along the way, I met two great people, Nadine Ezzi and Topher Stevenson, who were both doing their own thing from an AI commercial real estate perspective. And we were like, why don't we band together and start a platform where we could actually teach people? And not only just teach people, bring people in who could just show off what they're doing. Remember today, hey, I built this incredible prompt to build a market map in Austin, Texas. I used to spend $1,000 and 2 weeks on this. Now it's a $25 subscription to Google Workplace and 10 minutes of my time. So it's now just it's the imagination piece, it's the curiosity, it's the, oh, what can I actually do with this? And we'll get into some of that today on this call. But it's just unlocking your imagination and seeing what these tools can do. That's what we want. Not just, oh, we're the experts, we're going to teach you. It's, well, we're going to make sure that we're on top of everything because, like you said, things are changing so rapidly. That's our job. But this community, every member's responsibility is to help everybody else. Hey, I'm an asset manager, you're an asset manager, let's talk. I'm a broker, you're a broker, a marketer, lawyer. Let's just trade use cases and try to get as good as we can at this. And we're 3 months in and there's already over 250 people in it and it's been incredible. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm curious. Let's take it a step further. So I'm a big believer, I think, none like you, in that the way you become good at something is you are a practitioner of that thing, right? And so there is no SOP for any of this stuff. You just show up one day, set up an account, and just go for it. But now that you've been in it for, let's say you're 12 months, you're a practitioner. If I'm just beginning beyond the practitioner piece, what would you say start doing next? Or like, here are a couple of the first reps that I would do after you get the tool set up, you get your account set up, and so on and so forth.
I would say if you're a beginner, you're going to want to know how these tools work. So ChatGPT, for example, everybody uses it. 800 million subscribers on a weekly basis. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
You're going to want to know the functionality, right? It's all about parameters. Everyone knows how to use the typical prompt section, but there's projects, which I'm a big fan of. There are custom GPTs. There are automations you could add in. There are ways to build visual assets. So for me, although the parameters feel like they are changing, just getting these basic functionalities of, okay, on a left taskbar, what can I actually do with these things? And start organizing. I'm a big organizer, which is why I love projects in ChatGPT. Just start going in there and playing with it, but develop themes. Like I said before, if you're just dipping your toes in and just you don't have much set up, that gives you kind of a little bit of a framework, but start building out a project where it's, hey, I am a multifamily marketer or I'm a retail broker. Have a folder and start brainstorming on things and learn how to build on that. I think the biggest thing, and it's very fragmented right now, and that's what we're trying to accomplish with the studio, is to bring it all in one place. Use AI as a thinking part. Hey, what can you do? I am teach ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude who you are.
Yeah.
Through a master prompt, which we have, and I can send to every viewer. That's the biggest step, is teaching these models who you are, because now the output is centered around you and the context is so much better. So if it knows, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, they all know me at this point. They know that I am, it's a little scary, John Buckelew. I live in Brooklyn. I'm a multifamily asset manager. I have the studio. I talk about this on LinkedIn. So much of my context, especially when I'm in projects, or I have a gem in Google, or a space in Perplexity, that knows exactly who I am. And if I'm talking about a certain thing, it knows what to reference, and the output is specifically off of that. Because my fear, and this happens to plenty of people, is you don't know how to use the tool. You do the exercise of dipping your toes in, and it doesn't give you what you want, or your expectations were so high. Oh, this thing stinks. I'm not paying for it. I'm going to go back to the way I've been using, or I've been doing work for the past 20 years. So the output is so important, but to get great output, you need good input and instructions and all that. And it might sound daunting, but it's much easier than it sounds at this basic level.
Yeah. So you cited something there at the very end of that sentence that made me think of pitfalls, and in the pitfall being like the first sign of adversity, you give up and punt and go back to the old way of doing things. So are there other pitfalls like that you would suggest to our audience or our listeners that, hey, look, if XYZ happens, don't worry, you're not going to break it?
I mean, listen, and I take a chance every time I do a live demo. These things don't always work. I've taken a chance on my own reputation, but I always preface, and I'm doing this, I rely so heavily on AI now. I spot check as much as I can. So I don't rely and just assume it's right. But it's become such a arsenal for me that I'm using it for investor presentations. I'm using it for data analysis. I'm using it for property websites, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to always work. We're in the infancy still. We're 3 years in. There's going to be issues, but you will see if you persevere, you will get great output. If you learn how to use these things, you will get incredible output. I was sitting in this very room when I used a tool called GenSpark. I've got 75 properties that I manage. It is a lot. And we have a bunch of investors, lenders, investor reporting, which is not going to be this month. It's going to be, end of the quarter, the month after the quarter, which is next month. I was like, how the heck am I going to develop investor reporting for 75 different properties?
Yeah.
I can't. My beard's going to get grayer than it is right now. I remember sitting in this office and using a tool called GenSpark and feeding it T12s and rent rolls and actual versus budgets and providing a little bit of a narrative and watching it go. And 5 minutes later, having a 30-page presentation with graphs and maps. And I was sitting in this chair and I picked up my computer and I walked into one of the partners' offices and I said, I found a solution. And I had this huge smile on my face. But ever since then, it's been an incredible thing. But I still counter issues. Still, you didn't get that number, right? Now I'm spending time doing this. So have the expectation that there are going to be issues. But if it gets you 80%, 90%, in some cases 100, but assume it'll get you, call it 75% of the way there, and you just have to do the last 25. How incredible of a journey is that? Whereas a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you'd have to do all 100% yourself.
Yeah.
And now you have all this time to do other things. And we're all very busy in this industry. So it is a game changer.
And I think you hit on a relevant point there. I remember a couple of years ago, AI wasn't in the picture at that point, but there were some automations that were being developed by property management systems this was an accounting person. They said to me, hey, I can just do this and I can just do it. I can do it faster. And I'm like, the point is not faster. The point is that you can be focused on higher value work while this thing is in the background doing its thing, right? And wrapping your head around, yeah, you're great, you're skilled, you're awesome, you're a grade A, but you're not highest and best use right now. That's a whole different paradigm of thinking, I think, for maybe not the youth in our generation, but certainly people like myself are a little bit older. How do you get people over that?
It's not easy. I mean, there's a few different ways to answer that, but breaking habits, which I think is a function of what you were just talking about, is very hard. I was just sitting in my office with my analyst, and I had him do basic work, basically linking. And this is a 24-year-old kid. You would think he wouldn't have these habits, but we're so important to have them. Linking in an Excel sheet, there was probably 75 tabs. We wanted to link all this information from those 75 tabs to this one master tab. He literally said 2 hours ago, oh, I wish I had an analyst. I was like, you forget who you're sitting next to. Yeah. We opened up Excel. I have a plugin that he doesn't, which I'm actually going to show on this call for Claude. And in 2 minutes, all that information was filled out. All the information was linked. So I bring that up only because even somebody who's 24 who hasn't necessarily built those habits of, hey, I've been doing this real estate work for 30 years, but he's been doing other work for 20 years or 10 years. But it's, it is hard to break those habits of, well, I've been doing it this way for so long and I'm comfortable doing it, even if it takes me an extra 5 hours. I know it's right because I did it, and I don't want to learn AI or I don't want to rely on something else. But when you continually hammer things in and you show people how to use these tools and you show the power of it and they see, oh, that's what I could get? Great. Like we were on a call, we taught 70 brokers at CBRE last week how to use Microsoft Copilot. And I think we blew their minds. And oh, I don't have to read 50 leases to find these different clauses in them. I could actually put it into a notebook in Copilot and ask it to create a table in seconds. So showing them that's probably the easiest way, is if we show them,
Yeah.
as opposed to leaving it up to them. But can't do that for the millions of people in the industry. But they just have to see it. That's the biggest thing. And then build the muscle. Keep exercising that muscle. That's not easy, but that's how you do it.
Yeah. I think, just to pin on to that, doing it with real world work, right? It's one thing to see things with some sort of arbitrary example, but if you're doing it with your real work, right, and you see, none unlike your analyst with 75 tabs that he, I assume, built or used a lot,
Yeah.
using that very specific thing probably imbues it a little more tightly.
Absolutely. Doing a mock example of something that's not applicable to
Right.
what I do is nice, but it doesn't hit the same way that I'm sitting at work and I need to solve something, or I need to, there's a big task in front of us. Can I do it myself by hand, or can I actually have AI do it? And if I see AI do it, I feel, when I did this for him 2 hours ago, I felt like, okay, now I'm showing him that this could actually work. And I'm, again, reinforcing it to myself. I'm
Yeah.
a year into
Yeah.
this. You still want, with all these tools, reinforcement that these things you could rely on. And yeah, again, it takes reps.
That's right. That's right. What do you say? So I have to imagine, you may or may not have run into this yet, but humans who do work, maybe being intimidated by and or in fear of, hey, this thing's coming along and doing the work that I, take a week to do, or which is my job, and it should take this long. Now it's doing it in 5 seconds. And what is there going to be used for me in the future? How do you sort of have that conversation with people that are
Yeah,
afraid?
there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of fear, and I get it. To me, I'm still a big believer in the thought that this will be a supplement slash complement to humans, not a replacement. Especially in our industry, there's so many different nuances. You cannot automate everything. It's not like a factory where you're doing the same thing over and over again for these 20 steps. There are so many different variables. And couple that with the slower adoption in our industry,
Yeah.
it is a long time before we don't need property managers and leasing agents and all of this stuff. And I mean, even just bringing in an AI leasing tool, I still see the need for a leasing agent person, whether it be self-guided tours or online bookings. People still want human interaction. I didn't see success with self-guided tours because people didn't want to show up to a property where there was nobody there and they're just left to their own devices. They want to speak to someone.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of that. The desire for human interaction, a million different nuances and variables in this industry. I still think it's just going to be a complement, not a replacement. So I'll end on this, another cliche comment. You will not be replaced by AI. You will be replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI. That I'm a big believer in. And that's what I try to hammer in, because there's a lot of people learning how to use these things. And if you are in an interview and it's between you and someone who knows how to use this, you don't, and they could tout that they could do things much faster, efficient, and make money, save money, et cetera, for the company, they're going to get the job over you. So that's what I think the statement is. You will be replaced by someone who knows how to use it versus AI itself. Could be dead wrong. There could be robots taking over in 2 years and all that, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it's I listen to a lot of sort of future casting type podcasts, or like Looking Out Around the Bend, the Peter Diamandis and those types. And they all seem to think we're still probably 2035 before some of that becomes a reality, where you do have robots doing stuff. They're robots today, but
yeah, there are robots, but I think they're fancy, nice, sexy tools versus something that gives a lot of utility. But we shall see.
That's right. So if before we maybe have you talk about a couple of real use cases or case studies, if you were under the premise of forecasting out the next, say, 2030, 2035, and you're looking at the world from your perspective, and obviously adding some accelerant to what you're doing today, meaning all this stuff's going to change and you're going to be right there at the forefront of it. What do you see? What does the property management industry look like to you in, say, 2035?
Oh, I think there's going to be a lot of pain along the way because you see it. I've been on the investment side. We are the ones making the decisions. How many staff do we want? What technology are we bringing in? And it's very easy for us on this sitting in a desk outside, not at the property, to try to just look at the numbers and be like, okay. And I hear this on a lot of pitches. I heard it last night. We're going to be able, through our technology, we're going to be able to replace your headcount by 50%. And I think it's an enticing thing for an investment firm to hear because, oh, I get to cut my costs by that and I can be more efficient. Great, sign me up. And I think a lot of people will try that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they're going to see that that's not going to work to the way that they want. Like these zero people property management companies. I think that is a farce. But I think people are going to try it.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be pain. You're going to be firing great people who probably are not going to come back. So there's going to be a lot of pain along the way. My vision for 10 years from now, that maybe the typical staffing models will be a bit different. I think AI should definitely be a big component of it. But I think a lot of the admin, the manual type stuff is going to be with AI, with automations, all that, and the human interaction piece, which is the biggest component of all of this, knowing who your residents are, their habits, building rapport, and ultimately getting them to stay, at least in all spaces, but I'm talking mainly about multifamily. That's going to be the biggest thing for a property manager and a leasing agent, is to be more human versus 90% of my job is inputting invoices and calling to collect rent and this and that. Like, I think a lot of those processes will be automated, the agentic AI, and it'll be more of a human interaction type thing. What is that human interaction outside of what it is now? I don't know, but I'm hopeful that this business will be a lot more efficient, and there'll be a lot more waste, and there'll be a lot happier residents than there are now. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
So that's my dream. It's not a specific what I think 2035 will really be. I don't know, but it will definitely be a lot more efficient than it is today if we adopt technology the way that we should. But I do think there will be pain along.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but we'll see. We'll see.
You're 100% right by that. It's no doubt asset managers or underwriters are going to be seduced by the idea that you can cut headcount, and they're going to have this they're going to have premises or basis for that. Amazon's laying off 30,000 people, or they're not filling the 30,000 openings they have today, or they have all these sort of data points out in the marketplace that say, hey, they're doing it, we can do it too.
It's not even just property management, it's every part of the ecosystem.
That's right.
Companies are going after. You don't need a underwriting analyst anymore. Use this. You don't need a broker anymore. Use this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is human related when it comes to this business. Brokers bringing us deals, lenders trusting us to lend on properties, residents trusting us to live there, property managers and leasing agents feeling comfortable working at the property because their superiors, the regional vice presidents, the asset managers, have good rapport with them. All human interactions. So much of this technology, unfortunately, is let's cut your head count. You don't need to pay a broker 2%. Pay our AI tool 1%.
Right.
That cuts out so much of the human interaction. That's what I'm most fearful of.
Yeah,
it's not going to work.
No, I don't think so. And many years ago, I'll be very short about this, but I had this vision. Who knows when it was, but Bill Gates had a vision a long time ago to put a desktop on every desk in the world because he wanted his operating system on it, right? And I was under the grand idea I worked under the grand idea that we could remove all of that, all those desktop laptops. We can remove it all from the offices and we get back to having a sort of eye-to-eye conversation. We remove all the transaction-oriented type of work that you would otherwise see presented on a screen. You don't need to see it anymore. You can just be a human with another human. And
it's so hard for me to fathom what an office looked like before desktops.
yeah, I worked in one.
What did you guys do? Just papers everywhere.
Everywhere paper. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just it's technology. You get used to it and then you forget what it was before, or you never saw it. But it's we phones, computers. We are all glued to these things. Hopefully, with the adoption of AI, who could do a lot of these things, we could get back to interacting a lot more than we are now.
Yeah, I think we could do it. I have hope for the human.
Yeah, me too.
So maybe you're 3 months into this business. Talk to us maybe about case studies, some application case studies, some things that you've done where you've seen real success. Just kind of tease the audience here in terms of bringing more people to your community.
Yeah. I'm going to share my screen and there's a few things that I've actually done over the past week or two that I think are cool that we're going to do live. And again, hopefully they work.
Yeah,
I'll preface that they do work. They might not work this time, but we're going to test things out. And so much of what I do, first and foremost, everything I'm about to show you, I've done for myself as an asset manager, and it's been great. They've been helpful. I mean, some of these things I just did last week. It's really going to pay dividends. But all of this is to just, even if it's not applicable to you, the viewer, my goal is to just open up your imagination to show you what you can do and apply it to, if you're a marketer, apply it to marketing. If you're a broker, apply it to that. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to do 3 quick, hate when that happens. I'm going to do 3 quick, can you see my screen?
I can.
There we go.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to do 3 quick things and we're going to go into it. We're going to let it build. We're going to go to the next one and then we're going to come back. So, all right, I am in Google AI Studio right now. So Gemini 3 got released a couple weeks ago. I think it's the most powerful LLM right now. So there's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there's Claude, there's Grok. Those are kind of the big ones. With Gemini 3, they actually released a building function. So I'm a big, what they call vibe coder. I like to just start building things. I think you and I spoke about that on another call. I love building dashboards and property websites. Really, if I think I could do this myself, which couldn't do this 2 years ago, if I could do this myself, I'm doing it in here. So in Google AI Studio, there is a build function, and we're going to build something cool. So long story short, again, multifamily asset manager. I got obsessed with multifamily design a year or 2 ago. Value add investors. We go in, we buy a 300 unit property in Birmingham, Alabama. Part of the plan is to paint the exteriors and redo the interiors and all that. Specifically on painting the exteriors, I remember I hired a third-party company for $5,000, which I'm embarrassed to admit. And they gave us great designs, which we took, and the property looks incredible. So I'm not that embarrassed because it actually worked really well. But $5,000 was a lot of money to spend on a company that ultimately just used Photoshop with a couple of colors that I picked from Sherwin-Williams, and they delivered a nice PDF to me. Well, can I do that myself now with all these tools? So I'm going to, and I built the prompt before. I'm just going to copy and paste this so it's easy. I basically am asking Gemini, and I shared this on LinkedIn last week or the week before. I'm asking it to build this property visualizer where I can upload a picture of my property, and it'll have all the different Sherwin-Williams colors. And I now can pick what door color I want, what brick color I want, what roof color I want, and all that. So I'm going to hit build. This is going to take probably a couple minutes to build, but just as you can see, and again, the prompt matters.
Yeah.
And, there's different ways that I build prompts. There's actually a great prompt engineer. It's a custom GPT in ChatGPT to help me build a really great prompt. I didn't necessarily do it for this one, but the more context, the more information you give it, obviously the better you're going to get. But we're going to see, and I'm going to go to the next one, but in a couple minutes, we're going to see a app that I would have had to probably pay $15,000 to build, which I never would have done. But even just think, if I'm paying someone $5,000 per property and I do, 10 properties a year, that's 50K that I'm now just saved per year. It's a lot of money.
That's right.
So we're going to let this run, and you're going to see that I'm going to be able to upload a picture and change the colors just by putting in this prompt into Gemini, which is really cool. And actually, I already built it, so I could show you it, although I like everyone kind of seeing that. But let's move on. We'll come back and we'll see what it does. So, all right, now I've got Excel up. Can you see that?
Mhm.
So this is, in our industry, especially in asset management on the investor side, everyone's living in Excel.
That's right.
This is the domain where everybody is so hopeful that AI will help, but it's also the domain where people are so skeptical and not willing to give up control just yet, especially on complex things. But Claude, which is a product by Anthropic, they released Opus 4.5 2 weeks ago, which is the best coding and analytical tool out there. I have this plugin, which, full disclosure, right now you need a $100 a month subscription to get it. But in a couple of weeks, I'm sure they'll release this to everybody. This is a really great plugin for Excel, and I need to minimize this. Now I've got an AI built into my Excel. So you'll see here, there's Copilot up here.
Yes.
Which is standard with your Excel. Not that great, but it still can do things. Claude, and I started playing around with this 2 weeks ago, can do some really great things. So you can see over here, I have a dummy budget that I created. And it's all hard-coded, and I want to make some changes to it, but this is a hard-coded version. I want to make it a bit more dynamic. So I built another, where is it? Right here. I built another prompt, which basically is just telling it, this is a 2026 multifamily budget, and I'll just read it. This is a 2026 budget for a multifamily property. It assumes no market. Just giving it some context.
Yeah.
I basically want the AI to update my market rents starting in March by 2%, because you can see they're flat. I didn't assume any revenue growth.
Yep.
Or any market rent growth. Increase my market rents by 2%, but also that's going to affect my loss to lease.
Right.
And I should, if this was a really great prompt, I would tell it how the loss to lease is calculated. But I want to see if it could figure out the logic itself. And then also I'm telling it, all right, all these total rows are all hard-coded, make it dynamic. So with this simple prompt, let's see what that does as well. And we could go back into this. All right. Look at that. So I will say you could do this same thing 20 times and you might get 20 different versions.
Yeah.
I built one already. I like this version better. So let's do this. I built this one right before. So I'm uploading a picture, which is the same one. This is a property we own in New York City. So it's analyzing the current colors. It's analyzing the picture. It's analyzing where, there's the facade. Here's a door. Here's a roof. Here are the windows. And this thing I could put on steroids just by adding more to it. But for the sake of this demonstration, let's make it easy. All right, so it identified that it has brick, which is true. Here's door, here's window. So I now could change the colors. So let's do some crazy stuff just so it could show. All right, I hit this SW, retreat, what looks like a green, gray, and it's got the Sherwin-Williams color. And in a version that I have elsewhere, I actually, once I'm good with my color schemes, look at that. It just changed the brick to that. So I'm a crazy person. I would live in here for hours probably changing colors. So it's probably not a good thing for me. But I've now saved $5,000. And the bigger thing is, okay, John, you just built this thing. I don't have an imagination, nor do I want to pick color schemes. You could actually tell this, and we're not going to do it today. I want you to be an expert interior designer. Go search the internet, or you could feed it some properties that you think are really good. Like there's a bunch of properties in Savannah that I think are stunningly designed.
Yeah.
I could literally put the link in here, or I could build something within this app. Take this link, absorb the color schemes on this picture, and put it on, superimpose it onto this picture, and tell me what these schemes are. And then have a PDF that I can now send to my construction management team, who will send to our paint subcontractors to put up a sample. And now I've saved $5,000. This probably would have saved me 3 weeks of time, because that person who I paid $5,000 to, they took time.
Right.
There was a 2-week turnaround and then revisions. So just by a simple prompt, which again, the more you add, the better it could be, and I pay for Google, but you could do this for free.
Yeah.
I now have an app that is pretty incredible.
Yeah,
I could change the door and all this stuff. Now this looks pretty ugly, but all that. So how incredible is that? And again, if this doesn't apply to you, think about things that maybe instead of paying $5,000 or $2 a unit per month, think about things that could help you and build in here. And it doesn't have to be a life-changing thing. This isn't life-changing, but this will save me a ton of money, save our properties and our investors a ton of money. So I just think this is such a cool use case. This will get even better. But these AI code, no code tools, so I don't know how to code, it did it for me, I think are incredible.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really cool use case.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's go back to Excel. So, all right, before I proceed, let's just say you're correct. I didn't read it, but okay. All right, so we'll let it do that. But as you can see, it's thinking. I'm glad, and I think a big part of a prompt is telling it to make sure that it understands what I'm saying before it goes, which is what I did in that prompt.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing it's going. So we'll give it, I don't know, 10 seconds to see if it could do it. So it's identifying these total columns.
Yeah.
Which, okay, this could have taken me a couple minutes to do myself, at least the total portion of it. But I've got 75 of these budgets. Maybe I have them all hard coded, and I could do this pretty quickly. So it's doing that, and then it's going to change these numbers up here. Oh, it actually did it.
Yeah.
You multiplied it by 1.02. Now, perfect example. I think I said to start in March. It started in January. So it didn't get that right. So it's not perfect. Again, you always need to check the information. But my market rent went up. My loss to lease went up as well. I would need to make sure I understand how it did that. But I would do that all in this Claude for Excel plugin as well, and I'd have it tell me its logic.
Right.
And look, it was hard coded before. Now it's a sum of the values above.
That is awesome.
Basic use case, but this saves a lot of time. And I'm so excited to be using this in Excel now, because there's so many examples like this on this level of difficulty, which is basic, but even more complex as well, that this thing's only going to get better and better. And it's going to help me save so much time, give me so much more insights into the data itself, because there's so much out there, obviously. And ultimately, I think it's going to be a game changer for me and our industry. So those were two use cases. And real quick, and this was something I learned last week. So many people say, well, I work at a bigger company, John. I can't use ChatGPT or Claude or GenSpark or all these tools that you're talking about. But we have Microsoft Copilot. How do I use that?
Yeah.
And we actually, I referenced this before, the studio taught about 60 to 70 brokers at CBRE last week how to use Copilot, because this is what they use. And I started playing around with it. And there's something really cool in Copilot, which if you have, you should try.
Yeah.
This workflows builder, you're basically building automations without needing to build automations yourself. So here's a basic automation that I want to build. So I just showed you a budget.
Yeah.
It's budget season. It's really the end of it. So send me a Teams alert every time I get an email with the word budget in either the subject line or the body of the email. The format of the alert should be time received, sender, with some context, and also include a link to the email so I could easily locate it. So all I need to do is hit enter. This is a new agent that Microsoft created a couple of weeks ago. But I thought it was so cool because I love building automations as well in programs like Zapier and Make and Relay.
Yeah.
But it takes a little bit of skill to use those. Here in plain language, and you're seeing it now, Microsoft Copilot, which if you are a Microsoft user, Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, SharePoint, it's already plugged into all your data. Uh, and this literally in seconds just built me an alert, which if I was smart, I'd actually set this up so I could show you it. Uh, but this literally just built me a automation where anytime I get an email, and I'll turn this off in January, anytime I get an email between now and the end of the month, essentially, that has the word budget anywhere in it, it's now going to give me context via Microsoft Teams because I need to get my budgets across the finish line. We're a little late on some of them. I've got my finance accounting team working on it. I want to make sure that I don't miss any budget related emails.
Right.
This will send me a trigger right to Teams, right in my face, not buried in my inbox, right to my face that there's a new email regarding budgets. Here's a link, John, go find, or, go review it and address as needed. But literally basic prompt, told it what to do. I'm hitting save. I'll test it a little bit, but this is a really cool feature. So it's just things like that. I didn't think it'd be smart to just go into ChatGPT and start prompting and doing deep research and codecs and things like that. These, I think, can be very applicable to the viewers here, but more importantly, again, just opening up your imagination to what these things can do and how they could apply to you. So hopefully those things were useful. Again, I love building things. This, I think, is so cool that I would have had to hire somebody for, again, $15K to do this. Did it in seconds. Excel, most excited about this.
Yep, that's very cool.
And then these workflows just helping me save time, not miss things, and just be a better employee. Yeah. That's what I'm looking to do. So I hope you like those, Mike.
Man, yeah. Look, you had me at let's do a podcast episode about this stuff. So no, listen, I think there's, because we're in the early innings of making application of all of these tools, anybody who has the courage to go first and to put it in a nice, sort of framework that is approachable, I applaud you. There are a lot of people that, to your point, sort of tag it on as a marketing or put it on as a marketing tagline and, just kind of talk very surfacey. You're going deep, you're doing the reps, you're helping people become better at their jobs, more efficient at their jobs. And I just can't applaud you enough. It's very cool.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. And it's still, again, a year ago. Now that's what you're doing, John. 2026 or 2025 version of you, John, is doing this. It shows that you just need to get started.
That's right.
You just need to do it. But I appreciate those words, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. I want to give you, as we wrap here, I appreciate you taking the time to actually share screen and do all of that. I actually think that's a first for the Multifamily Collective podcast, which is awesome.
I took a chance. It worked.
Yeah, that's. But anyway, where people can find out more about you, more specifically about the education platform that you put together, we'll certainly link those things up in the show notes for you.
Yeah, follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I live a lot, posting about different things in asset management, in AI, PropTech, just what I think is interesting. And then, the CRE AI Studio is just the CREAIstudio.com. And we have got a Circle account. We're doing weekly videos, and we've got a Slack-like community for everybody there, broken out by asset managers, brokers, marketers, acquisition specialists, all that. And we've got a prompt library, so all the things that I just showed you. We've got resources that you could just plug and play. And really, again, we're just trying to help elevate the industry person by person to make it a more efficient one. So it's been cool. But yeah, that's where you could find me. LinkedIn's the best place.
Awesome. Thanks again, Jonathan. It's been wonderful. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to get this one out.
Well, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.